Hey everybody, welcome back to The Point. Hope you're all doing well on this Friday, April the 14th. Lots to dive into today here on the pod. So much happening in the world of sports. Just off the top, some housekeeping. This weekend, I'll be recording two podcasts: and Stanley Cup Playoff Eastern Conference preview, which will be tomorrow. Sunday, I'll be doing a Stanley Cup Playoff preview for the Western Conference, so that'll be on Sunday morning. So two podcasts coming out this weekend, previewing the Stanley Cup playoffs. The West isn't totally decided yet, so I'm going to wait to do that one Sunday. The Eastern Conference I will do tomorrow with lots happening. The matchups are all set. Research, get that prepared, make some predictions, things of that nature. So that is coming on the feed this weekend before the playoffs start officially on Monday. Today on the program, Pittsburgh Penguins cleaned house today. Everybody's gone. React to that. Dallas Eakins is out in Anaheim. We got news about St. Louis. They've hired some coaches. Not the main guy, but they fired a few. Lindy Ruff doesn't have a contract for next season in New Jersey. Does he get a new one? Does he go elsewhere? Going to react to Captain Sirius, Johnathan Toews, being out of Chicago. His career could be over. One of my favorite players, want to talk about that. Gabe Landeskog is out for the season. Big news there in Colorado, so I'll touch on that. And then also NHL awards. NHL awards show today. I have my nominees for every category. I'll list off my reasoning for why they should win the award. This was tough to go through, tough to do, but I think it's good. I think it's an accurate look at everything that's transpired. So a lot of NHL talk today, a lot to dive into. Let's start with Johnathan Toews in Chicago. Yesterday afternoon, I received word that the Chicago Blackhawks had informed Johnathan Toews that they would not be re-signing him. They informed the world, and that last night would be his final game with the team. They sent it out. I think to help improve the ticket sales, quite honestly, to get people to the rink, because you're playing against Philadelphia, the two teams that aren't in the playoffs, need a reason to go. It's not the worst way to try to promote sales, try to promote people to come. So Johnathan Toews, last game as a Blackhawk. First off, to me, Johnathan Toews is the best player of the 2010s minus Sidney Crosby. That includes Erik Karlsson. That includes Alex Ovechkin, Carey Price. Insert anybody that you want. 2010, in the 2010s, Johnathan Toews was as good as anybody. He was on Olympic teams. He was the captain of 3 Stanley Cup winning teams. He won a Conn Smythe. He was everything to those Blackhawks teams. He was Captain Sirius. He was their leader. He was their pulse. And to me, he was the heartbeat. He was everything that team represented, all-encompassing, everything. That was Johnathan Toews. Not to mention his play on the ice, his back check, 200-foot game, to me, modeling his game after Sidney Crosby a little bit. And Patrick Kane might be a better player statistically when you look back. Johnathan Toews, to me, was better than Kane in that period. He was better than Duncan Keith. And again, you can go through the list of the 2010s. I will take Johnathan Toews number 2 behind Sidney Crosby. Because, not just because of winning, that's an easy way to look at it, say he won 3 cups and these other guys only won 1. That's not the biggest key factor. It's his total game, how great he was. Johnathan Toews is only 34. It's unfortunate that his body has failed him. It's unfortunate that you watch him now and he looks like a player that has nothing left, that doesn't have any wind. He is spent. And I hate saying it because he is my 3 favorite hockey players ever are, in no particular order, Scott Niedermayer, Johnathan Toews, and Jaromir Jagr. All for different reasons, but I love them all. They're all fantastic. They all have their different attributes that you love about them. But Toews worked his ass off. He cared so much. And to me, he instilled a sense of pride. He instilled the character or the culture type monikers that you always hear that about the Miami Heat. To me, he instilled that in the Blackhawks, a team that was a laughingstock, a team that had not won for over 40 years, a team with no identity, with no great players, a team that failed to get really good crowds for a period of time, and he put them back on the map. Yes, Patrick Kane helped. Yes, and I'm oversimplifying how many efforts it took. Joel Quenneville can be added to that list. But you don't do it without him. You don't do it without him because he is the glue. He's the foundation. He's the wood you put in your house. You don't have it without him. And he is also one of the most unselfish players ever because you never hear him bitch. You never hear him complain about the fact that he's never discussed. That it's Kane, that it's Crosby, that it's Seabrook. You hear people bring them up before Johnathan Toews. And it's because he's been injured. Because he went through long COVID. Because he was sick. But we got to remember, those Olympic teams, he was a lock to make it every time. 2010, 2014, on both squads. Played pivotal roles. Why was he a lock? Because he was the best damn player other than Sidney Crosby at the center ice position. Better than Bergeron, better than those guys. He was it. So, with all that being said, we now look around and you love the game of Kane. You love the game of Seabrook. It was a fantastic, dynastic-ish type 5-6 years from the Chicago Blackhawks. 3 Stanley Cups, but it's an end of an era. I've made this argument before, and I believe it to be true here in Chicago, and I'm going to talk about Pittsburgh and their idiocy in just a little bit. You move off of your legends. You don't just keep them around. If they still bring you value and you still have a chance to win, you keep them. If they don't, ship them out. Don't wait till the last year. If you know the worst thing you can be in pro sports is average. I'd rather be god fucking awful than be average. Because if you're average, you never become great and you're never bad. So you're just in the muck. It's okay to be average. You could be the most average salesman. Guess what? You can make an average living. You can make a pretty good life for yourself. If you're in most fields, being average is good. In pro sports, average is death. Average is mediocrity. It's being first-round playoff exit year after year after year, or getting the 16th pick in the draft. Who wants it? Nobody. But there's got to be a team that does it. And Chicago majored in, let's not be terrible, but let's just be in the middle. Let's keep all these long contracts. Let's keep these guys. Let's put them on LTIR. Let's try to find our own Robidas Island. But they never committed to being awful. They finally have. Chicago's terrible. Terrible. Somehow they're not the worst team in the NHL, which is truly staggering. Truly staggering that they're not. Because I'll tell you, heading in now, season's over, the Anaheim Ducks had the best odds to get Connor Bedard with the first overall pick. Chicago is tied for second with the Columbus Blue Jackets. But good on Anaheim for being that pathetic. But now Chicago will look for some ping pong balls. They'll look for help so that they can find the next generational talent, the next Johnathan Toews of the franchise, if you will. Bedard might be a better player. He's got all the looks of being a superior talent. It doesn't mean he'll be better than Toews' career. Doesn't mean he won't be as productive. Might be more skilled, might be this, that, and the third. But that's what Chicago has to look forward to. Chicago has been horrible since they won their last cup. They won their last cup in 2015. It's 2023. You reap what you sow. If you hang on to legacy and to feelings, guess what? Feelings are dead in pro sports. Dead. They're not meant for that business. Guess that's why my dad says I should be in it, because I don't have many. You cut it out. You don't think about it. Okay, yeah, we loved you. The fans love it. Who gives a shit what the fans think? If you're thinking about what the fans want, you're not doing your job right. Because guess what? You build a winner, those fans that hate you because you cut out their favorite veteran will end up back in the seats cheering for you against that player when he's on another team. Because that's just how it works. Catering to fans, catering to keep your veteran. Oh, I only want to see him play in one jersey. Wah, wah, wah. Okay, how's that gone for Chicago? Terrible. Pittsburgh. And I've made some bad predictions, but this is my best one yet. Let's quick transition right to the Pittsburgh Penguins. Pittsburgh Penguins Tuesday night lose the Chicago Blackhawks. How fitting. On home ice, after Chicago's coming off a back-to-back where they had to travel, and Pittsburgh lays an ultimate egg. Just a pathetic performance. You lose 5-2, you got a healthy lineup, Tristan Jarry's between the pipes, and you just suck. You suck, and you lose that game. It might have been the worst loss of Sidney Crosby's career. I'm not saying it's all his fault, but he was in the game. You lost. Pittsburgh losing to Chicago. Inexcusable. Can't happen. Your season's pathetic. All you have to do is close out 2 wins against Columbus and against Chicago. You lose both games. Get out of here, Pittsburgh. But my overall point here, and why I was bang on with this take. Last summer, the Pittsburgh Penguins thought, you know what? We have an opportunity here. Evgeny Malkin, Chris Letang are up. We could let them go. We could let them walk. We could go let them get overpaid elsewhere as they're entering their mid to late 30s. But you know what? I still think we want to compete. I still think we want to do this, that, and the third. Sidney Crosby is probably going to Brian Burke saying, I want my buddies back. Well, they re-signed both these guys. Chris Letang for 6 years, which, woof. And Evgeny Malkin for 4. To their credit, Evgeny Malkin played all 82 games this year, first time in like 6 years. Chris Letang had a heart issue. He was okay. But that doesn't matter. You had no salary cap space. You had no flexibility. And you somehow missed the playoffs in the Eastern Conference. Chicago finishes above you. Buffalo finishes above you. And a few other teams. Ottawa's right in the mix. But you missed the playoffs. Pittsburgh. This is why management people should not take advice from players on how you do business. Michael Jordan he didn't want the players that they traded for. He didn't want Scottie Pippen. He didn't want Steve Kerr. He wanted other guys from other teams. Guess what? They said no. No, we're going to go in a different direction. We feel this is better for the team. We're happy to hear your input, but we're not going to necessarily listen to you. It's in one ear, out the other. And guess what? The Bulls ended up winning a bunch of different championships. So not listening to the player was the correct call. Go figure. So, to me, Sidney Crosby, and this is not really an opinion, you can deduce this. Sidney Crosby wanted his buddies back. He's under contract for a number of years. He wants to stay in Pittsburgh, wants to compete for a championship. Haha. And he says, let's keep all these players. Let's keep Letang. Let's keep my buddy Malkin. Let's keep Tristan Jarry. The boys are back in town. We lost to New York in the first round, but hey, if a couple things go right, we win that series. We win the cup. Okay. Well, now you miss, and now you have these players on the books, and Sidney Crosby has 2 more years left on this deal, and where is this team going? Still got Jeff Carter for another year at $3.1 million. Woof. Jeff Petry's still on this team. How about the trade deadline deal that is the worst of the worst? 2 years remaining on Mikael Granlund at $5 million per. He had 2 goals after the trade deadline for the Pittsburgh Penguins. A complete non-starter. Did nothing positive for the team whatsoever. And you got him for 2 more years. Boy, that's fun. So you miss the playoffs, you see all these terrible moves, you see your team, it's small, it's old as hell, and you think, okay, what can Pittsburgh do? Fenway Sports Group. They own the Red Sox. LeBron James is part of this group. He's probably focusing on the Memphis Grizzlies, but the rest of the group of people got together and said, whoa, we stink here. We lost to Columbus. We lost to Chi-Town. Buffalo finished above us. Ottawa's right in our rear view. A lot of teams are getting younger, yet we're fucking old as sin. So let's do something about it. So the Pittsburgh Penguins this afternoon announced they cleaned house. President of Hockey Ops, Brian Berkey, done. See you later. Back to Sportsnet. Finally have somebody good on the network. Happy about that. Ron Hextall, GM, fired. See ya. Philly's not going to take you back. They couldn't wait to get rid of you. He's gone. Second stint as a GM, fired. You're not getting another one. He's gone. AGM, don't even remember his name, gone. Pittsburgh sent everybody to the woodshed, or to use the Kevin O'Leary analogy, they brought them behind the barn and they shot them. You're done. Give us your key card, your pass. You're done. Get off the property. Bye-bye. Well, of course you're going to do this. Pittsburgh, they were horrible at the job. Brian Burke took over. He did not win 1 playoff series. Did he make any good moves? Did Hextall and Burke make any good moves in their tenure? I don't recall many. I seriously don't recall many. Granlund, the Petry trade for Mike Matheson somehow didn't work. Didn't get the better end of that one. I like Jason Zucker, but he's been injured for most of his time there. Not exactly a great trade. You re-signed the 2 old men to play with Crosby. No, not a win. So, Jimmy Rutherford traded Matt Murray. That was Jimmy Rutherford. So now they're all gone. And my first thought goes to, well, what does Sidney Crosby want? Because something I think as a viewing base, as people that think critically, it's nice to hear that you want to play for one team for your whole career. It's nice to hear that. I put on the Penguins jersey. I want to finish with this jersey. It's a nice sentiment. It's some emotion there, some good feelings. I get it. Not really, but I pretend to get it. Because here's how I think about it. I live in Rexton currently. I have a job currently here. I'm moving. I don't want to live in Rexton for the rest of my life. I could have lived here the rest of my life, had a job, did that. I don't want to do it. So I could have did that path. I'm deciding to do something different. Now, you could say it's a tougher task. You can go through that whole rigmarole. But I don't understand that line of thinking. Just staying somewhere because they showed you loyalty or because you were born into it. Pittsburgh drafted Sidney Crosby. He didn't choose Pittsburgh. I was born in Rexton. My parents chose this city for me. I didn't choose it. I was forced to live here. I'm not saying I didn't love it, but this is where I was born. I have to live here. I don't have a choice. I'm a little kid. I have choice now I'm an adult. You make different decisions. For me, players that say, I only want to play for one team, I don't understand it. If your only prerogative is to win, then you shouldn't just want to stay somewhere where you have no chance. Sidney Crosby has 2 more years left on his deal. I don't want to stay in Pittsburgh because I'm not going to win another title. And will he go down as one of the best players ever? Yeah. But I don't think for Sid, it's about public perception. It's about internally for him. He looks at Gretzky. He looks at Mark Messier. He looks at Bobby Orr, Nick Lidstrom. He wants to be in that party. But I think for him, championships are the defining thing. And Nathan MacKinnon's got one. Let's say Nathan MacKinnon gets a couple more. I think he wants to have more titles than MacKinnon. He wants to have more titles than Marchand. He wants to own Nova Scotia when it comes to championships. Just a thought. I don't understand staying somewhere if you don't have a chance to win. If you say you're the ultimate competitor and you're the guy that will do anything that he can to win, well, you can do something different. You can absolutely do something different. Go to another team. Ask for a trade. Work a trade. There's new management coming in. And if I'm new management coming in, you just saw what Brian Burke and Ron Hextall did. They tried to build around the edges of an old core. Crosby, Letang, Malkin, Petrie, Dumoulin. Younger, but his body might as well be 50. He's been through hell and back. So you built around an older core trying to put pieces around the edges. It didn't work. Didn't even come close to working. So seeing that it failed already, if I'm management, I'm coming in, I'm not taking this position if ownership is telling me that I have to try to build a contender. Because guess what? You're not going to. And you'll struggle, you'll lose, and before you know it, you're done. You're like Berkey on the side of the road. This team needs a full rebuild. And the best thing for Sidney Crosby and the best thing for this team is for the Penguins to trade him. If I'm Sidney Crosby, there's a couple locations that would really intrigue me. I'll go through them. Colorado. Gabriel Landeskog's done for the season. His career could be over. He hasn't played in a full year. He's got a knee injury. If you don't play a whole year in a playoffs, there's something wrong there. He could be on LTIR. His space opens up. It's not easy to pull off, but it could be pulled off. The Crosby replaces the Kadri role, if you will, even though he's still a number one center, but Nathan MacKinnon's better than Sidney Crosby currently. You go in there, you have 2 centers that could be number ones. You have a number of great players on the team, and you go with Josh Manson, you go with MacKinnon, you have Rantanen, and you try to win another cup. You might win one this year. We'll see. But that would be my approach, is looking at Colorado. I fit in well. I know where I can play. I know Nathan MacKinnon. Western Conference, fresh start. Number 2, Montreal Canadiens. Now you're thinking Montreal Canadiens have the 5th best odds for Connor Bedard. Yes. Here's how it works. They had the 5th best odds. Say they win the lottery. So they get Connor Bedard on that team. They got some holes. I don't love their salary cap structure. But you have Connor Bedard, and they pull off getting Pierre-Luc Dubois in the offseason. So you get Bedard, Dubois, Crosby. Those are 3 centers on your team that can go up against anybody in the league. They got a plethora of young defensemen. I like Caden Gooley a lot. Jordan Harris can play. You can add more to this team. You can get rid of contracts. You have players that do have value. You can make hockey trades for other players in the league. Montreal would intrigue me if you can land those pieces. Otherwise, I wouldn't, but I wouldn't rule it out. And the last team for me, if I'm Sidney Crosby, I like Colorado. Montreal could work. But the other team is the Boston Bruins. He might not want to go to Boston. It's not for everybody. But Patrice might be leaving. Krejci is likely retired. But you'd have Marchand. You have Pasternak locked up. Hampus Lindholm, Charlie McAvoy, Brandon Carlo, Linus Ullmark, Jeremy Swayman in net. You're just replacing Bergeron with Sidney Crosby. Not a bad little deal. You can replace David Krejci. Lots of centers in the league can do what he does. Similar nucleus to the team you have now, but with Sidney Crosby. Pittsburgh will want some, of course, pieces back, trade draft picks, whatever. Young prospects, Fabian Lysell, send him to Pittsburgh, whatever prospects. But the Boston window doesn't have to close. The Boston window can remain opened. Pittsburgh wants to suck, send Charlie Coyle back in the deal, get rid of some salary. It's not impossible to pull off, and they can keep winning, even with those veterans leaving the team. If I'm management, I want to see where Sidney Crosby's head's at. And if he's leaning towards leaving, great. Because I kind of want him to leave too. I see a way out of it. Sidney Crosby's not the problem. But unfortunately, he's not good enough to be the solution anymore. So when you realize that, and you find an opportunity for a player that will give him a better chance to win, I think a competitor takes it. Penguins fans will hate you. Yep. But as I said off the top, fans are fickle. Fans are reactionary. And when you're making a move, fans should have zero impact in your brain because fans are not that bright. They're not thinking long term. They're thinking right now and how they feel about it. They're like an ex-girlfriend. They get pissed off at you for cheating. But once you're done cheating, you go back home, you apologize, they might take you back because they love you and they think of you in your best phase. So a fan hates you because you cheated on them. But then you bring in a nice shiny new toy, you buy a diamond ring, something, and then before you know it, they love you again. Pittsburgh gets rid of Crosby, Malkin, and all these old toys, and somehow they win a draft lottery, and then the next Connor Bedard's a Pittsburgh Penguin. I think they'll get over it. I think they'll forget about what you did before, what the decisions that you made, and it'll be about the future and what's coming and not about the past. Do Toronto Blue Jays fans care anymore that they got rid of Donaldson, they got rid of Bautista, Tulowitzki, all these old guys, Russell Martin? Or are they happy that they got Vladdy and they got Bichette, and they got Chapman now, young pieces? Is that sentiment there? Is it still hatred? Or is the team competitive, have a chance to win a World Series now, and you forget about the old guys? That's my thinking. That's how I'd approach it. Never, ever. Oh, this isn't what a fan would think. Never have that in your brain. Never. It's different from decision making in life because there's sometimes you got to think about, well, how will this, I always think, if I make a decision, how will my mom react to this? How will she feel about my decision? And normally, it's not always, but normally if I think she'll be mad at me, I don't do it because I don't want to disappoint her. I don't want to make her angry. But to me, in that business, you have a license to piss off fans, to piss them all off, because fans will come back. They will. if you're good. Look at the Leafs. They've been a disaster for a long time. The fans don't leave anywhere. Pittsburgh was bankrupt. It's more pressure on them because you have to find good players, but draft well. They did. Fleury, good pick. Malkin, Crosby. Picked up Kunitz. You can make good decisions. But sticking to an old horse when it's got one good leg, not smart. But for the first time since 2006, the Stanley Cup Playoffs will not have Sidney Crosby or Alex Ovechkin. Crazy. They were, my childhood. That streak started when I was 8 years old. 8 years old. I'm 24. Those guys made the postseason every year. That's baffling. It really is. But Washington, the same boat. Washington is not much better. They're old. Washington, Peter Laviolette's contract's up. Do they bring him back? Probably not. Ovi's not leaving because I think they want that goal scoring. When he breaks the record, they want him to be in a Washington Capitol uniform. I get it, but also I don't get it. Because it's nice, but also, do you want to win? Or do you want the one night where you break the record? I prefer to win, but Ted Leonsis can make that decision. Gabe Landeskog out for the season. Let's see. Dallas Eakins out in Anaheim. Head coach for the last number of years. His contract was up. It was not renewed by the Anaheim Ducks, and they'll be moving forward without him. So, nothing out of Philly yet, but Anaheim be looking for a new coach. Washington could be. New Jersey. Lindy Ruff does not have a contract. I don't think he's going anywhere. But he doesn't have a contract as of now. Maybe he'll retire. I don't know. For Anaheim, you're going through a rebuild. And I will put it this way. They didn't see Dallas Eakins as their head coach of the future. And I think it's smarter to fire him than bring him back for 1 year than to get rid of him. Say they get Connor Bedard. I don't want to have Connor Bedard 2 coaches in 2 years. Find a coach that you like, that you think can help you through a rebuild into competitive hockey, hopefully. In a perfect world, that's where this goes. But Anaheim is nowhere close to winning. They're not a good team. They have some decent talents. Trevor Zegras is a good player. He's not a superstar, though. He hasn't taken that next leap. John Gibson's played there for a long time. Doesn't seem like he's not an elite goalie anymore. Cam Fowler played all 82 this year, but again, Adam Henrique, end of his contract, been there a long time. You have Ryan Strome locked up long term. Troy Terry's a solid player. But you need to learn to play defensively. Mason McTavish needs to grow. And you need to hope you win the draft lottery, plain and simple. You have the best odds to get Connor Bedard, and you need to hope that you get him. Because it can help change around your franchise. But this team defensively, their fundamentals aren't good. If I'm the Anaheim Ducks, I'm sniffing around Alain Vigneault. He wasn't in the NHL last year. I think he's a good coach. Coached in Vancouver. He's obviously coached in New York. He's coached in Philadelphia. He has success everywhere he goes. He's a veteran coach, so he knows what it's like. He's been with good teams. He's been with bad teams. I don't think he'll be easy on his good. I don't think he'll be easy on the good players. I think he keeps everybody accountable. He'd be a guy I'd look at. I want my team to play with structure. I don't want a loose coach to come in and keep the bad fundamentals going. I want everybody to play the right way. So that would be somebody that I would look into. Alain Vigneault, been a really good coach in the NHL for a long time. Other names that come to mind, I don't think they go with a guy with no experience. So, does Joel Quenneville get another job in the NHL? Maybe. I don't think he'll want the Anaheim gig. But maybe you look at him. Maybe he'll take a job because nothing's coming. He wants back in the league. You can promote from within. You can look at the AHL level or college. But I expect a coach with experience will end up behind the bench in Anaheim. Dave Haxtell got a job in Seattle. He coached in Philly, became an assistant coach in Toronto, and ended up getting the job. He's did a pretty decent job. He made the Stanley Cup Playoffs in his second year behind the bench on an expansion team. For this coach, you come in, you're going to face a tough position. Maybe it doesn't have to be so much experience in the NHL, but at least a little bit. At least enough to show that you know what you're doing. But Anaheim's searching. They're now waiting for May 8th. That's the most important date for them. That's the NHL draft lottery. That's when they'll know if they have Connor Bedard on their team. Waiting word on Washington, what they're doing with Peter Laviolette. Nothing yet. New Jersey heading into a postseason. Unlikely to hear any news on that until after the postseason's over. But I don't see why you don't bring back Lindy Ruff. As of now, the St. Louis Blues have not fired head coach Craig Berube, but they did fire assistants Craig McTavish and Mike Van Ryn today. McTavish has been around for a long time. Van Ryan's been on the staff since 2019, won a cup with the team. So, a move there. There's a lot going on. Calgary, we haven't heard anything yet. Calgary with Daryl Sutter. He's on the books for another year, what they decide to do with him. DJ Smith, does he come back? He's coaching at the Worlds as an assistant coach. But Ottawa will have new ownership. What does that do for Pierre Dorion? What does that do for them? So some teams, I think, are still mulling over their options. But interesting news today nonetheless when it comes to head coaches and what teams are doing with that spot moving forward. I'll get to the playoff matchups in a second where that stands, but I do want to pivot now to the NHL awards. I'm going to go through my awards picks. And these awards will be for the Hart Memorial Trophy, the Norris, the Vezina, the Selke, the Jack Adams, and the Calder Trophy. This was a tough process. I found the Hart in particular extremely difficult to decipher and to choose where to kind of put my flag in the ground. But I'm going to try to do it with you all here today. I'll explain my reasoning, explain the nominees, and we'll go from there. But I'll start with the Calder. So the Calder Trophy is awarded to the best rookie. And we've had a few really solid rookie campaigns this year in the National Hockey League. And my three nominees are in no particular order until I announce the winner. Wyatt Johnston of the Dallas Stars. Dallas is not a team that gets a whole lot of notoriety. They're a team that often gets overlooked. You sometimes forget that they're in the league. But they also they're really one of the most intriguing, most interesting teams this season because they had Jason Robertson. They had key cogs such as Jamie Benn having a great season, Miro Heiskanen, Jake Ottinger. But you didn't expect to see Wyatt Johnston, first of all, make the team as a 19-year-old, but then go on to have the production that he did. He was picked in the first round, 23 overall in the 2021 NHL draft. You expect him to be sent back to Windsor, but he played this season in the NHL. He played 82 games. He had 41 points, 24 goals. He was a stable third-line guy all year. He scored big goals. He started to contribute more and more on the power play. He got more and more responsibilities, and he was available. He played 81 out of 82 games. He's got a wicked shot. He was on a really productive team. And Wyatt Johnston he was an easy one for me. Because all year, his name kept popping up. You watch Dallas, you see him. You see what they like in him. So Wyatt Johnston is my first nominee for the Calder Trophy. My second nominee is the guy that I thought would win it, but I don't think he is going to win it. It's Matty Beniers. Matty Beniers of the Seattle Kraken, also same age as Wyatt Johnston, taken in the same draft class. Was taken second overall. He had 57 points this season. Matty Beniers, same number of goals with 24. But Matty Beniers was asked to do more. Dallas had more of an infrastructure around him, where you got Seguin, you got Ben, you have little Joe Pavelski, Rupe Hintz, Jason Robertson. Dallas is a really solid club. And Seattle, as I predicted, would make the playoffs. Very good team. Very good team. So many guys that can score goals. Their goaltending was surprisingly good. But Matty Beniers, while great, had to do more. He had to do more than Wyatt Johnston. And he missed time with injuries a little bit. He missed some games. He played 80 games this season, only missed 2. Surprised that he only took 2 penalty minutes, which I don't know if you should be credited for that or have it taken away from you. Maybe be a finalist for the Lady Byng. But he was constantly around the offense. He played on the top power play units. He was one of their key offensive weapons. He's got a fantastic shot. The kid is also supremely talented, really confident, moves with the puck really well. I just look at Matty Beniers, had to do more, had to be awesome, and he was just a fantastic player. You saw him on the ice, you go, okay, this guy's an NHLer. This guy's going to do work. And he did more often than not. Love Matty Beniers. I think he's going to be a fantastic player in the NHL for a long time. He might be the face of that franchise of the Seattle Kraken for many years to come. And I couldn't be happier for him. I predicted he would win the award. I don't think he's going to. Here's why. The man I have winning the Calder Trophy is Owen Power. And Owen Power will not win this award because of statistics. But he should win this award because he's the best rookie in the NHL, period. Sometimes it's not about stats. Sometimes it's just about watching the games and seeing talent. Seeing what a person is doing to affect a game. Owen Power, he only had 35 points. He had a positive plus-minus. That should probably make some people happy. Only had 4 goals this season. Doesn't scream great. Well, what did Owen Power do that was so fantastic? How about for many stretches this year, playing over 25 minutes a night, being a guy that was on the penalty kill, did whatever it possibly took to win. Here's Owen Power's last 5 games of the season. Ice time on ice. 22:58, 23:26, 25:37, 27:03 against New Jersey, and he finished last night with 24 minutes time on ice. That's what he did. He averaged 23 minutes and 48 seconds a game. A game! Just to put that into context, Morgan Riley, who's paid $7 million, number one defenseman, quote unquote, averages 19 and a half for the season. This guy was so damn good. Did anything the team asked, worked his ass off, such a smooth skater, and he's going to win a Norris Trophy. He's winning the Calder this year. He's going to win the Norris. This voting process of we can only vote for who has the most points, well, then a defenseman will never win the Calder. I'll get to the Norris and what I think about that in a second, and my pitch. But Owen Power was the best, bar none. If you watch games that are not just scratch, we got to watch Toronto, we have to watch Edmonton, we have to watch New York Rangers, and you watch the league, you know that Owen Power was the best rookie. The dude's a stud. Buffalo's got such a guy there. No, they picked the right guy first overall. He is going to be an awesome player for years and years to come. I'm stoked for him. He should win this award going away. And I watched Sawyer and my cousin Sawyer watched him. So we went to Edmonton twice for the World Juniors. We went in the winter and in the summer. We went in the winter. We only saw 2 games, and then it was shut down because everybody's afraid of COVID for the 18th time. But before it was shut down, I watched him play twice. The first game, he had a hat trick as a defenseman. I've never seen somebody move like that in the ice, how confident he was as a defenseman to move in the way he shifts around. Smooth skater, smart up here, great athlete, doesn't shy away physically, 85 blocks on the season. Less points than Beniers, less points than Johnston. But it doesn't matter. He was the best player. He was asked to do more. And oh, by the way, it's tougher to play defense than it is to play winger or center. Checkmate. Bishop to Rook, 9. Owen Power. Pivoting to the Jack Adams. Jack Adams is the coach of the year. This one was easy. I also think the Jack Adams should be easy every year. It is for me anyway. My criteria for the Jack Adams is the coach who has the best record in the National Hockey League should win the Jack Adams every year. Why shouldn't the coach with the best record win? That goes against all logical sense. You sneak into the playoffs 8 seed. Well, you weren't supposed to get there coach of the year. Why? Why? You snuck into the last year, 16 of the possible 16 playoff teams, so you win coach of the year. Happened to Torts. I love Torts that one year. Never made sense to me. It never made sense to me, okay? Well, no, I don't love that logic. Let's take that away. But no, coach of the year, my nominees are as followed. My winner is always the coach with the most wins. The next 2 that you put on the ballot, I could give a shit. It could be Lowe, Curly, anybody you want. I don't care. Anybody. Put them on there. Nominate them. Boston Bruins, they played 82 games because you have to. They won 65 of them. The Boston Bruins only have 12 regulation losses. I'm going to repeat that. 12. Tampa had 30. Toronto, 21. The Edmonton Oilers had 23. LA, 25, playoff team. Winnipeg, 33, playoff team. Boston, and the Jack Adams Award winner is going to be Jimmy Montgomery. First of all, it fits the narrative of a good story because that seems to be a reason you win an award now. And he's also was on the best team. You win the Jack Adams for me. Easy. Second nominee I have is Lindy Ruff, New Jersey Devils. Story. They finish. New Jersey finishes with 52 regulation wins, which is pretty incredible. Tied for second in the NHL with Carolina. They finish 1 point behind Carolina for the Metropolitan. They finish with more points than the Maple Leafs. They finish with more points than the Edmonton Oilers, than Colorado. Incredible season for New Jersey. And my third nominee is Peter DeBoer of the Dallas Stars. New coach. He might win that division. It'll depend on this evening. Banking on rookies. Getting production out of Jamie Benn. Introducing a new system. Peter DeBoer, my third nominee. So Peter DeBoer, third. Lindy Ruff, number 2. Winner, landslide, unanimous, Jim Montgomery. The Selke Trophy. This award should be renamed the Patrice Bergeron Award, which is the best defensive center. And oddly enough, I have him winning it again. So smooth. The best 200-foot player in the last, decade in the NHL. Still really productive. Still really smart. Knows how to get to areas. Eliminate time and space. That's what Patrice Bergeron does. And I'll be honest. To me, if you're on the best team, you deserve some props. You deserve some respect when it comes to regular season awards. You're on the best team by a landslide. You should be up there. You might be better than the other defensive centers. Guess what? They finished behind you. So I have Patrice Bergeron winning it for seeming like the 8th time in his career, which is incredible. Number 2, I have Philippe Danault of the Los Angeles Kings. LA makes the playoffs for the second year in a row. They're in the same position that they were last year. But they allowed less goals. Danault goes up against the team's best line every night. He has a tough assignment, Philippe Danault. Let's be honest. He has to do a lot of grunt work. He plays a role. He has block shots. You got to be set defensively a lot of the times. And it's really a thankless job. And you look at it, and he finishes with a -8 this season. I don't care about that. He played all 82. He's going up against McDavid. He's going up against, Mark Stone in Vegas. He's playing against Huberdeau. Every night he's going up against the team's toughest opponents. But Mark Stone wasn't winning this award. Sidney Crosby's not being nominated, in my opinion. Mark Scheifele isn't up there for me. There isn't a whole lot of options, quite frankly. Minnesota, no. Devils, I got one. So, I have to know my third nominee is Nico Hischier, captain of the New Jersey Devils. Nico Hischier had his best offensive season yet. But with all that being said, he's also one of the most steady defensive players in the league. He doesn't cheat. He makes smart decisions. Just for all the old people out there, he finished plus 33 on the season. 31 goals, 49 assists, career highs. 80 points, not too shabby. Only took 10 penalty minutes for a tough role. Going up against Zibanejad, going up against Sebastian Aho, some of these great players in the league, he matches up against them and he squares off a lot of nights. Again, New Jersey, really successful, really positive season. They get some respect from me. If I had an honorable mention for this award, I would pick Mitch Marner, and here's why. He blocks shots, he plays the penalty kill, and he was the MVP of the Toronto Maple Leafs this year. He was better than Matthews. He's better than Bill Nye, the science guy. He was better than John Tavares, certainly. To me, he just did everything for that team. And again, another really good season for the Leafs. He was super important for what he did. He would get some respect from me. And honestly, it wouldn't shock me if he's nominated for this award and he replaces Danault. Wouldn't bother me either. I'm fine with that. I have Bergeron winning it. The other two, interchangeable. But to me, the real sticking point is Hischier should be nominated for this award. If Danault isn't, I'll be fine with it. I won't agree with it, but unless it's Marner. But otherwise, I'll be right, per usual. The Vezina Trophy. best goaltender in the National Hockey League. The winner is easy. The most interesting is the two other nominees here. I'll go with number 3. My third nominee is Jake Oettinger of the Dallas Stars. 36 wins, 241 goals against average, and a .918 save percentage. If the Colorado Avalanche lose tonight to Nashville, the Dallas Stars will win the Central Division, and that'll be on the back of Jake Oettinger. Jake Oettinger, he got his 37th win last night. The kid's my age. He's 24. He's playing in the NHL. He's been a stud for a long time. Finishes his season with a shutout. Was phenomenal in the postseason last year. But he seemingly never lets in bad goals. He's not a complainer. I like that he voiced his opinion this offseason and said, I'm not playing without a new contract. He got one from Dallas, which he should. He's one of the best goalies in the league. But he plays on Dallas. You don't hear about it. If an Olympics started today, Jake Oettinger would be the starting goalie for Team Canada. He would start the gold medal game. Oh, wait, he's American. No, he wouldn't. But he might start for the Americans over Connor Hellebuck. Not joking. That's another reason why Canada might not win the gold medal. But Jake Oettinger is la creme de la creme. Doesn't let in bad goals. Keeps Dallas in the game. Because I like their defense score, but they have a lot of guys that take chances. They have some players that are a little bit slow when it comes to foot speed. He's asked to do a lot. He makes huge saves. Love Jake Oettinger. Number 2 for me is Ilya Sorokin of the New York Islanders. 234 goals against, 924 save percentage, 31 wins. So less wins than Jake Oettinger. But Sorokin had to battle. Sorokin down the stretch was starting every game. The Islanders were off to a terrible start, and they found a way to get to the playoffs, and I think Sorokin deserves a lot of credit for that. He has a good defensive team in front of him, but there's also a level of pressure that you have to think about when you know you have to win a lot of games 2-1. The Islanders don't score a lot of goals. The Islanders don't put a whole lot of pressure on the offense, so you have to be fantastic. You have to be dialed in. You have to be ready for every situation. And every night he just took it. Okay, I need to make 45 saves tonight. That's fine. We need to win 2-1. Okay. And he's a goaltender. He's weird. He does his stuff. He doesn't go to the bench during TV timeouts. But he's rock solid. Another Russian goaltender that has translated easily into the league. He's the number 1 goalie on the New York Islanders. Here's another key part of my list. These guys are number 1s. They just are. They've grabbed the net. It's not. You might look and say, well, Wedgwood got some starts. Okay, but Ottinger's a number 1 goalie. There's no debate. Sorokin's a number 1. And my winner has solidified himself as a number 1 goaltender. And he was by far the best goaltender in the NHL this year, and that's Linus Ullmark of the Boston Bruins. Linus Ullmark, 40 wins, best in the league. 1.89 goals against average, best in the league. And a .938 save percentage, best in the league. All his stats, best in the NHL. On the best team. Best record-setting season. Need I say more? Boston has a nice advantage because they have Swayman and they have Ullmark, and both guys are pretty solid netminders. But when push comes to shove, the Bruins turn to Linus Ullmark, and he is their number 1 goalie. Buffalo let him walk. In free agency, he signed a 5x5 deal with Boston. Well worth it this year. He may not be a stud forever, but for this season, he deserves the Vezina Trophy. He's going to win the Vezina Trophy. And to me, it's not tough to decide who wins this. Because Linus Ullmark's been the best goalie for a long, long time. Sorokin, Oettinger were both fantastic, but just not quite to his level. Let's move to the most polarizing category in my opinion. That's the Norris Trophy. Best defenseman. And boy, the word best gets thrown in there and you really start to think about it. I have 2 honorable mentions for this best defenseman in the league this season. My 2 honorable mentions are Hampus Lindholm of the Boston Bruins, who might be the most calm, cool, and collected defenseman with the puck in the NHL, period. Never panics, seems to always make the right plays, the floor general when he's out in the ice, and he sets everything up, easy breakouts, love the way he plays. So Hampus Lindholm jumps to the top. My other honorable mention is Rasmus Dahlin of the Buffalo Sabres. Dahlin had a red-hot start. He wasn't as good down the stretch. He had a great last couple weeks of the season. But he was fantastic. He finishes the year with 73 points, which is a career high. 15 goals, career high. And he did everything for Buffalo. He made some fantastic plays. He put guys on ice skates, broke some ankles on the ice. I love the way he played. He really kept progressing when it comes to his talent, what he can do in the league. You have Dahlin, you have Owen Power. They have something cooking there in Buffalo. I love the pairing. They're both great. So Dahlin, honorable mention. My third nominee is Dougie Hamilton. Dougie Hamilton signed a 7-year, $9 million a year per year deal in New Jersey. It was hated by many. This wasn't going to work out, but New Jersey turned it around quicker than people expected. And Dougie Hamilton deserves a lot of credit for that turnaround. This year, he was the Rock of Gibraltar. He was the guy that just was steady, did whatever the team needed. 74 points, which is really good. He's 29. In 21-22, he had 30 points. And he was a minus 19. To put this into comparison, he had 74 this season and was a plus 23. Quite a turnaround. Power play specialist, got his shots through, was so pivotal for New Jersey Devils. Kevin Ball played this season, not exactly the best defenseman in the world. You had Luke Hughes played last night. He's breaking in. Damon Severson, never been my favorite. Yogesh Siegenthaler was fantastic for them when it comes to being a defensive defenseman. He was awesome. Brendan Smith has bounced in and out of the lineup. So they've had different guys at different times, but Dougie Hamilton was always in the lineup, was always the force that you could rely on to play effectively, to play well. And in a year where there weren't a whole lot of great defensemen, I just look at him and say, I can't not have him on my list because he was on a great team, because he had an individual great year when it comes to points, and just because you watch the tape, you throw on a game, you see Dougie Hamilton, you go, this guy was fucking great. He was awesome for the Devils. He did everything you'd want him to do. He was the anchor. He was the captain. Pardon me. He kept them afloat. Dougie Hamilton. My number 2 nominee is Erik Karlsson. Erik Karlsson is being nominated but not winning the award for me because I'm sorry. He has 100 points, which is fantastic. Only the 5th defenseman ever to do that. And he deserves a ton of praise. No doubt about it. However, He's one of the worst defensemen in the NHL when it comes to defending. He is lackadaisical in his approach. I mentioned the other day his teams don't win because he doesn't really care about that style of play. He hasn't been in a plus when it comes to plus minus since 2018, 2019. It's not a good stat to have. I hate plus minus, but throwing that in there, he's horrible. He's horrible at game management, at knowing situations, and just purely defending. But he's on this list because he has 100 points. But you shouldn't just win the Norris Trophy because you have the most points. That's what the Art Ross is for. The Art Ross is you get the most points in the league, you win the award. That's not the Norris. It's the best defenseman. He was not the best defenseman. He's on one of the 5 worst teams in the league. You weren't valuable, clearly. Dougie Hamilton was on the 4th best team in the league. Something might have been the 3rd best team when it comes to point percentage. That is proving your value. That's proving that you can be part of a great team. Be part of that. Erik Karlsson has proven throughout his career that it is an anomaly when he's on a team that's competitive. And a lot of that failure comes down to him not willing to change his game. Just going to say it. So he gets on my list because he has 100 points. But if the argument is, well, he had 100 points, he has to win the Norris Trophy. Roman Josi had 96 points last year and he lost it to Cale Makar. 96 is basically 100. It's basically the same thing. Makar won it with 80-something points. Makar then went on to win the Conn Smythe, so of course there's more to it there. But I'm not giving a guy an award just because you got 100 points. It's a nice thing. You can put it on your resume. You can put the plaque on the wall if you want. I got 100 points in the season as a defenseman. Great. But I'm giving the award to the man that I think was consistently the best defenseman all year long. It started from jump and it continued throughout, and that's Josh Morrissey of the Winnipeg Jets. Josh Morrissey was a workhorse for the Winnipeg Jets. He battled injuries. He did whatever he had to do to help the team. Point blank. He missed games down the stretch. But I've never seen him play that effectively in my life. You saw a jump. He's 28, but he got better. He played with more confidence. He finished with 76 points in 78 games. 16 goals, career high. On a Jets team that was really dysfunctional at a lot of points of this season. They made a lot of mistakes. Scheifele had bad times. Hellebuck couldn't make a save at times, and they snuck their way into the postseason. Not by merit, but because Calgary stunk and Nashville couldn't figure it out and they traded off guys. But they're in nonetheless. And Morrissey never really dipped. He had gotten banged up a little bit, but he battled and he never gave in. And I give him so much credit for that. Again, I never expected to see him nominated for this award, let alone win it. And I don't think Josh Morrissey's going to win the award. I think he'll be nominated. I think Erik Karlsson will win. Because I think most voters are lazy and you just look at the points total and that's who you put your 3 names in. But watching the tape, looking at how every team is playing, at the overall value that these players are adding to their team, is how these awards should be decided. I don't believe it's been done like that for a long time. It's a shame. Erik Karlsson's going to win his 3rd Norris Trophy. I have a real problem with that. I really do, because he's never been a great defenseman. And the true nature of the award, if Nick Lidstrom wakes up, and I get Erik Karlsson's Swedish and he sees him winning 3 Norrises, I think he'd fucking roll over. He's not dead yet, but he might if he sees him win another one. Because Nick Lidstrom was the epitome of, okay, we got to play defense here. I got to defend the net. I got to block a shot. I got to get this puck out of the zone effectively. Not, okay, let's make it a stick handling display, and then I'll turn over in the next shift after they scored a goal. I'll go score one down the ice. That's not how it works. Nick Lidstrom won 7 in a row. 7 Norris trophies. Here's a crazy, I guess it's not all that surprising. Nick Lidstrom never had a season where he had a negative plus minus. But he's also a guy that didn't always get a huge amount of points. 62, 38, 80, 62, 70, 59. It wasn't about points. It was about winning, putting yourself in a good position to be in that spot. But the game has changed, and the way this award is viewed is not for the better. And honestly, if Erik Karlsson wins this award, the Norris should be for the defenseman with the most points. They should rename the award the Scott Niedermayer Award for the best defenseman in the league that season. Just complete defense. That way, Jacob Slavin, Dougie Hamilton, Charlie McAvoy would have a chance of winning this award. Just a thought, NHL. Scott Niedermayer Award. The Hart Trophy. I'll start at the top. The winner of this award unanimously is going to be Connor McDavid. The best player in the NHL, over 150 points, 64 goals. His team won 9 games to end the season, 9 games in a row to end the season. He's playing at another level. It was the best season of hockey that I've seen in my life. I've never seen somebody play better than the way he did this year. He controlled the game in such a way. Was menacing on the ice. He scared his competitors. CM97 was something else this year. But incredible stuff from him. From the drop of the puck, he was motivated. He was driven to show the league that no, Matthews isn't better than him, or maybe even his own teammate. Nobody is better than me. And he did that from pillar to post. He lapped the field. He had 24 more goals this season than Austin Matthews, the best goal scorer in the game. Just saying. I think he proved his point, and he looks even more dominant now. Now, the tough decision was the 2 people that followed Connor McDavid to get nominated for this award. I went back and forth on this, and I decided not to have Leon Draisaitl. I said I was going to, but I did not, because I looked at other teams and just the way these guys battled to get their teams in and how good they were. It just didn't feel right for them not to be recognized throughout the entire league. So my honorable mentions are Leon Draisaitl of the Edmonton Oilers, who had the second most points in the league, second best player in the league. I'll add that. And my other honorable mention, and this is tough for me too because I love this player. It's Mikko Rantanen of the Colorado Avalanche. 55 goals, no Landeskog, no McKinnon to start the year. Makar's been out for a long period of time. God, he was good, and it kills me not to have Rantanen on this list. But maybe he'll win another Stanley Cup. But I love Mikko Rantanen. To me, the best wingers in the league. He's in the top 5. He's right up there with Marner and a few other guys that I might name on this list, so we'll save them. But I got Draisaitl and Mikko Rantanen as my honorable mentions. Number 3, I have David Pastrnak of the Boston Bruins. 111 points, 61 goals, pardon me. And truly a special, special season for him. I've never seen him play better. He was possessed when he had the puck. Everything he touched ended up in the back of the net. He's so physically strong. And people just think of him as a goal scorer. He's the defensive liability, this, that, and the third. Not true. Not true. Because he has one of the best, for all the old heads out there, he's got one of the best plus minuses in the entire NHL. That might stagger some people. David Pastrnak, as I like to say, as they say in Boston, he finishes this year plus minus. He has the tied for ninth best plus minus in the NHL, plus 34. Not too shabby. The Boston Bruins have 8 of 9. So they have 5 of the 9. Lindholm, Grzelcyk, Carlo, Bergeron, Pastrnak. Pretty incredible stuff from them. But Pastrnak was just so dynamic every time he was on the ice. He'd play with Bergeron for a while, then he'd go off their line. They'd put him out with different guys to see if he could spark them. It didn't matter. He played with anybody this year. It worked. Was in the back of the net. He had incredible, incredible performances. Congratulations to my guy, David Pastrnak. Number 2, for me, another one of my favorites, Matthew Tkachuk of the Florida Panthers. Matthew Tkachuk, same neighborhood for points for Pastrnak, 40 goals. Florida was dead to rights in the first half. They rallied in the second half of the season. And that leadership, that fuel, was led by Matthew Tkachuk, not Sasha Barkov. Tkachuk took this team over. He took Florida over. And this team acted like he does. They had the compete level that he plays with. He did everything he could to get this team into the playoffs, and he did. And oddly enough, now Tkachuk and Pastrnak will have an opportunity to eliminate one another in the first round. Tkachuk had a season where he played with Jonathan Huberdeau, he played with Elias Lindholm, and the thought was, well, maybe it was because he played with them. Well, oddly enough, those two guys had shittier years, and Matthew Tkachuk got better. So maybe it's the other way around. But of course, it would never be the power forward who drives the line. It would be the other two that created for him. Well, wrong again. Matthew Tkachuk was the most valuable player on his team, was the second most valuable player in the league. Florida won the trade by a fucking landslide, and he is one of the best players in the league, the best power forward in the NHL, and Florida would be nowhere without him. Verhaeghe was great. Montour was very solid. Bobrovsky was shit. Spencer Knight's in the assistance program. Duclair played like 10 games all year. He had 2 goals. Mark Stahl can hardly skate. Eric Stahl is a bum. This team has a whole lot of flaws. Matthew Tkachuk overcame a lot of them, and this team is in the postseason. Pittsburgh is more talented than Florida, but Tkachuk was better in the big moments. Congrats to Matthew Tkachuk. What a season. He continues to put his mark on the league. He continues to tell people why he's better than they believe he is. And he continues to deliver. So those are my NHL awards. Hart goes to Connor McDavid. The Norris Trophy goes to Josh Morrissey. The Vezina goes to Linus Ullmark. The Selke goes to Patrice Bergeron. The Jack Adams goes to Jim Montgomery. The Calder Trophy goes to Owen Power. It was a good regular season, but I'm glad it's over. Well, technically it's over tonight. 2 games, the NHL this evening. 1 game still has meaning because if the Avs win the game tonight, they lock up the Central. They lose to the Preds tonight. Dallas wins the Central Division. If Colorado wins tonight, they will play Seattle in the first round of the playoffs. If they lose, they will play the Minnesota Wild. Looking ahead, I will be doing my Eastern Conference playoff preview tomorrow. In the East, Tampa, Toronto. We have Islanders, Canes, Florida, and Boston, and the Rangers and the New Jersey Devils. All fun series to me. Looking forward to them all. We'll break them down tomorrow. Out west, we know Edmonton is playing Los Angeles, and we know that Vegas will be hosting the Winnipeg Jets. I'll be doing the Western Conference preview on Sunday. And the playoffs itself begins Monday night. No official times yet, but we do know that Florida will play Boston Monday night. Islanders will play the Hurricanes. Dallas will play Monday night against possibly Minnesota or Seattle. Kings, Oilers. That means Lightning, Maple Leafs, Tuesday, Rangers, Devils, Colorado, and then Jets, Avalanche as well. So three Canadian teams in the Stanley Cup Playoffs looking to end the drought. Talk about the Leafs Lightning series tomorrow. Got lots of thoughts on it. Get into the other series as well. So that's coming up tomorrow on the podcast. If you didn't know, the Tampa Bay Rays are 13-0, tying a record that was set back in the 1800s. And because they're 13-0, tonight they can set a new Major League Baseball record with the 14th straight win to start a season. And if they do that, I mean, it'd be crazy. But also they could do it in Toronto. It's added some intrigue to this series. The Rays haven't lost a game. The Blue Jays are coming off a loss to the Detroit Tigers last night. Jose Barrios is on the mound, who has not had a good start all season long. Brandon Lau's hitting multiple home runs seemingly every game. The Rays are getting good starting pitching. The Rays have played bad teams like Detroit, and they played the Nationals. But I did see a good point on Twitter saying, well, if these other teams are playing bad teams and they're losing 1 out of every 3 games per week, he's right. He's right. They're losing 1 of every series. The Blue Jays lost to the Tigers. The Rays aren't losing anybody. They swept the Red Sox, a division rival, who aren't very good, but it doesn't matter. You beat them in all 4 games. I think it adds some spice to a game that otherwise wouldn't have a whole lot of it early on in the season. I'll be watching. Also in baseball, Shohei Ohtani. 3 starts, 0.49 ERA. 6 innings, 7 innings, 7 innings in his 3 starts. The Angels aren't great because they're the Angels, but Shohei Ohtani is, and he makes you want to watch them. But you look around baseball, a lot of teams are kind of struggling. Chicago's 5-8, slow start to the season. Houston's 6-7. Don't panic. Seattle's 5-8, playoff team last year. Philadelphia Phillies are 4-9, tied with the woeful Nats. St. Louis Cardinals are 5-8, last in the National League Central. San Diego's 500. The Arizona Diamondbacks are 8-5. The thing about baseball is you can't panic. Because soon enough, those bad teams will show themselves. they'll fall down the pit of despair and you'll start winning games. Tonight you got Cubs at the Dodgers. Cubs have been sneaky decent this season. They've been getting good starting pitching. Thor goes for the Dodgers. Got Rays, Blue Jays. You also had the playing games in the NBA tonight for the 8th seed. Chicago Bulls at Miami Heat. Winner will play the Milwaukee Bucks. Have fun with that. Oklahoma City Thunder will play Minnesota Timberwolves. The winner will get the Denver Nuggets in the opening round. My predictions tonight, I got the Bulls winning. I thought the Bulls would get to the 8th spot. I think they will. I think they go into Miami. They went on the road tonight. Zach LaVine, DeMar DeRozan were both great in Toronto. And Toronto threw that game away, missing 50% of their free throws. Went 18 for 36 from the line, just completely gagging it. Van Fleet shooting 50%. He's a 90% free throw shooter. Siakam missing 2 of the last 3 at the end of the game when he shouldn't even got the foul call. So disaster for the Raptors. But the Bulls I just think they have more to give. They have more options in the Heat. Bam Adebayo was garbage in the first playing game. I don't expect him to be much better tonight. Jimmy Butler might have a great game, but I think this is it for the Miami Heat. I think this is it for Udonis Haslem. And they need to start looking towards a rebuild because this team is too old to compete anymore. The other playing game, I got Oklahoma City. They stunned me the other night beating New Orleans. They're in Minnesota. Minnesota will punch each other. They'll find a way to screw it up. So I'm going to go with the upstart Thunder. I think that'll be the funnest series as well with Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, with Lou Dort, a bunch of other fun guys. So I'm sticking with the Thunder. Getting by, they'll play the Denver Nuggets. Should be a fun series. What else we got? NBA playoffs proper start up tomorrow. Nets Sixers at 2, Hawks Celtics 4:30, Knicks Cavs at 7, Warriors Kings at 9:30. So full slate, and a full slate on the weekend on Sunday as well. We also got UFC Fight Night tomorrow night. Max Holloway will be fighting against Arnold Allen in the main event. That should be fun. Also announced Alexander Pantoja, Brandon Moreno will fight for the flyweight title. International Fight Week in July, the first weekend in July. So that's been added. John Jones, Stipe Miocic will not be fighting. Be later in the summer, supposedly. They also added Manel Kape and Davison Figueiredo to that card as well. So 2 flyweight fights. But I like the card in the UFC this weekend. The main event is awesome. But also say Edson Barbosa against Billy Q, Billy Carantino. Love watching him fight. Pedro Munhoz, Chris Gutierrez. That bantamweight division is loaded. That's a big fight, big repercussions. Chris Gutierrez' first fight since retiring the great Frankie Edgar. Clay Guida, the journeyman veteran, back in the cage. Matias Nicolau, Brandon Royval in the prelims. 2 of the best flyweights in the world. See what they can do. Have some fun. So I think it should be a good weekend. Couple podcasts coming your way. More content. NBA playoffs starting up. Ended the NHL regular season. UFC, we got with the RBC Heritage down in Hilton Head, South Carolina. Watching that as we speak here. Currently, Jimmy Walker, 12 under through his first 2 rounds. Shot 6 under today, followed by Justin Rose and Scotty Scheffler. Slow play, Patrick Cantlay is tied for 4th with Tommy Fleetwood, Mark Hubbard, and Aaron Rye. Then you have Rick Hovland, Taylor Moore, Jordan Spieth, and a plethora of others. So, stacked field down there at the RBC Heritage, minus Rory McIlroy. We'll talk about that on Monday. We'll talk about a whole bunch of this, but I will be talking to you guys tomorrow about the Eastern Conference Stanley Cup Playoffs. That's coming tomorrow. Western Conference on Sunday. So get tuned up for that. Have a great weekend. Enjoy the nice weather. I'm your host, Noah Warren, and this is To The Point.